Welcome back to the Billy Meier Books YouTube channel. In this episode, we'll be asking the question, what is self-realization? And if you're new to the channel, you might want to watch some of our other videos on the channel, some of them that are more of an introductory nature or more generally about Billy Meier. We have quite a few videos on the channel. This video is dedicated and sort of targeted to the students who are studying Billy's work, teaching of the truth, teaching of the creation energy, and teaching of life. So this is a little bit more of an advanced topic than some of our other videos. So you're welcome to stay. If you're brand new, you might want to check out some of the other videos first and then come back and join us at a little bit later time. So anyway, we're back again for the same type of discussion format with Crystal.
Hello everyone, this is Crystal. I'm glad to be back on this new episode. So Mike, what is self-realization?
Self-realization. So I think we should first define the term a little bit, the English term, because it's so inadequate. I just took two off the web. So one of them was Merriam-Webster Dictionary says, fulfillment by oneself of the possibility of one's character or personality. And the other one I took, just to have a comparison, is dictionary.com. Self-realization is the fulfillment of one's potential. So these are both so inadequate that it's probably best just to talk a little bit about self-realization is. So self, meaning about the self, and then realization is the act of becoming fully aware about something about yourself. So self-realization is the act of becoming fully aware of something about yourself as a fact that you've determined and learned this yourself. So learning self-realization is something that has to be taken upon by oneself. It can't go somewhere else. You can't learn from somebody else. You have to learn about yourself on your own, by yourself. In order to do this, one has to create an honest will and put forth the effort to learn about oneself. It's not going to come easy or naturally or anything. It's a lot of work.
Okay.
Learning about oneself doesn't mean to accept everything on faith. For example, in school, when we learn, we listen to a lecture or we read a book, and then we take a test on the material to see if we've memorized it. When we're learning self-realization, we must think for ourselves, and we have to critically question everything and evaluate it for ourselves. So there's three steps. So the first step is to understand our individuality. Every human being has their own unique and unmistakable individuality. And there's two sides I want to talk about. So the material side and the spiritual side. So on the material side, our consciousness is unique. Each individual's consciousness is unique with all of the different forms of consciousness. For example, I talked about this in the Consciousness Part 1 video. I think I talked about the mental block, which contains our material consciousness, which has numerous forms of consciousness. And I think the examples I used there were, if you're an engineer, then you would form engineering forms of consciousness. If you work in the medical field, you'll form consciousness based on those experiences and things that you know how to do. Or if you're a parent, that would be a form of consciousness that would develop. So thinking and the thoughts that each individual thinks are unique. That makes us completely unique. And I'm sure it's not a big stretch. You've met other people with very different thinking than you. So probably most people have. And that's an example of how individual we all are, how our individuality sort of shines through. Also with feelings. So feelings, that they arise from thinking. So feelings follow the thinking. And the feelings are unique. Because the thinking is unique, the feelings are also unique. And that's easy. Most people have encountered other people to experience what they're feeling, and they're unique. They're unique from yours. And they have all different gradations of anger or frustration and things like that. So, and then emotions. Emotions which are developed from feelings are also unique. Our psyche, which is half material and half, it's a non-organic, the other half. our psyches are part of us that are connected to our physical body, which sort of ties in the feelings and the emotions and make us feel great or feel sick or feel depressed and all these different types of things. Our psyches are unique from person to person. Our personalities make us unique. Our personalities have so many different aspects, and maybe just some simple examples. Conversational skills. You know, each person has different levels of conversational skills to talk with other people. Self-honesty. You know, how honest we are with ourselves is unique from person to person. Or morality. Morality also. We have very different understandings of morality from person to person. Unique again. Maybe some more deeper aspects. Self-education. You know, how dedicated we are to learning for ourselves, learning things outside of school, just our self-education. Life and death. How do we understand the cycle of life and death and what this all means to us? You know, very different from person to person. Self-discipline. Everybody has very different levels of how disciplined they are with themselves. And maybe even deeper, a little deeper aspects. Self-awareness. I mean, how aware we are of ourselves and our thinking and our feelings and our emotions and things like that. How honest we are with ourselves. Self-honesty. Neutrality. We talked about that in the last video. How much neutrality have we learned and built up within ourselves? So all of these things make us unique individuals. Our memory, our experiences throughout life, from where we're born and where we live, completely unique, right, from person to person. Our subconscious, our unconscious, and all their different forms. So all of these things make, on the physical side, on the material side, make an individual unique. So also on the spiritual side, our spirit form, also called our creation energy form, which gathers wisdom and true love. And these things, because they're gathered by each individual person, each individual spirit, can be very unique based on our experiences, where we're born, what country we live in, what language we speak, and things like that. So each spirit form that we have inside of us is individual and unique because it collects at all different levels based on the individual experiences. So how much we pay attention and how much we learn, the spirit collects wisdom based on that. And it's different for every person. And through successive personalities, our spirit forms are built up and evolve through constant learning, which is completely unique. So from lifetime to lifetime, we get a new personality each time. These personality create further unique experiences that is gathered by the spirit form in the form of wisdom. And the essence of all these values that's collected, that's passed from personality to personality and from lifetime to lifetime, are connected by the spirit. And like in the physical world, the spiritual also has collecting all these different experiences and values, so it's also so unique. So it's important to understand that each individual is unique. Unique in our physical body, in our thinking, and unique in our spirit. That's sort of the first step is to understand that each person is absolutely unique and individual. That's the first step to self-realization.
Okay.
The second step is, building on the first step, is to understand and accept our individuality. So what does this mean? This means that we see ourselves as a distinct personality and a distinct spirit form, both of which are unique. That's number one. And number two, accept our individuality with all of its strengths and with all of its weaknesses as they are, as we are, and not how we wish them to be. So it's sort of, we look in the mirror and we see what we want to see, but we don't sometimes see the weaknesses. We don't see the bad things. So part of this step of self-realization is to accept our individuality and the strengths and the weaknesses that go with that individuality. That's an important step.
Yeah, I think that's the harder part. I think it's easier to understand that we're all individual and unique, but to accept each part of ourselves, our strengths and our weaknesses, I think we can be a little harsh on ourselves, or a little, going back to that neutrality, right? Being neutral with yourself, that's
yes,
part of this as well.
Yes,
Okay.
Yep. It's important to understand that every human being has their own thoughts, their own feelings, their own emotions, their own knowledge, their own experiences, their own personality, their own character, all of which makes each individual person unique. Each individual person unique. And each person, during their lifetime, each person should find their own path in life and follow it. Each person should know what their goals are and which paths in life will lead them to those goals. And that's an important thing. People need to know why they're here. And when they're here, if they don't know why, they need to figure out what they want to do in life. You know, for the 100 years or 80 years that they have, what do they want to accomplish? What are their goals? What should each person want to do? That's important. Each person should know what their goals are in life, and then sort of find a way to the path that will achieve those goals. That's part of self-realization.
So not just spiritual awakening type goals, but just your general goals about who you are in life are important to develop, and
yes,
not just your profession.
No.
So some other areas of your life as well.
Sure.
Learning a new language, or
going back to school, learning some new things. Yes.
okay.
Yeah, all those things. It's important that each person, part of self-realization is to know what your goals are in life and how you achieve them. Or maybe not how you achieve them, but what path to start down to achieve that goal. That's part of self-realization.
Okay. I think that's difficult. It's not, I think we're sort of, in America at least, set on a certain path, right? Of you're going to go to college, or you're going to do this job, and then these are the expectations. Have a family, do X, Y, Z. So I think realizing who you are for yourself is not such an easy task.
Because of all the society pressures.
Yeah, and just realizing that you have that freedom to do that, or that's important to do.
Yes. For self-realization, it's key. It's very important to know what you want to do and where you want to go and how might I get there. That's
and then getting there, I mean, each time you make a goal, you don't always achieve that goal.
No. I mean, you could start off towards a goal and then hit a roadblock or make a mistake, and then you sort of have to shift and then start again. And because that's part of the learning too. I mean, that's not just learning about just Billy's material, but it's learning about how we deal with roadblocks and downfalls and failing to meet goals that we set up for ourselves. So that's it's always going to be that way. And of course, you'll have some triumphs and some downfalls, and you'll be disappointed and things like that. But that's all part of it, all part of life. And that's really important part of self-realization, is knowing what you want to do. Most people don't know. You ask them, what are your goals in life?
I don't know. To get this job, and now I have it. Now what?
Now what? Yeah. So anyway, coupled with that, each person should build up an appropriate amount of self-confidence, so they're not dependent on other people for their recognition or their praise or their admiration. This is also important because some people could do things, maybe not as a goal, but they'll do things in life to get praise, or to be, you do it for your mom or for your dad, so they'll be proud of you, or so you get their approval. Or husband and wife, right? I mean, you do it so you can get the approval or the praise, this type of thing. That's not right either. So those are things we have to watch out for in our path on self-realization.
I think, with social media, that's a big aspect in the society now, is being so concerned about the likes or the comments or the haters, and
it's so bad,
allowing
isn't it?
that to affect you so deeply.
Yeah.
And that you're only doing it for that.
For the approval. How many thumbs up do I get, right?
Right.
Or how many likes do I get? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That you have to be able to handle all of that.
Yeah. And I just want to cover the other point on building an appropriate amount, right, of self-confidence. It shouldn't be over. It shouldn't be too much, because you could become so pompous and cocky and, and you make everybody mad and things. That's not the way either. So not only should you not just do things for the approval of another person, you should also not become so self-confident that, you stop learning. You think you know everything. So that's also, back to the middle, right? We have to find, that's why I say an appropriate amount. Yeah. And it's going to be different for each person, right? It's not a fixed amount. So I can only say that it's in this range, right? Each person, because we're unique, each person has to decide for themselves what the appropriate amount of self-confidence.
What appropriate means for them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And each person should become self-sufficient. So in the way that they can sustain themselves in life and not be dependent on someone else. So this has to do with money or material, self-sustaining, food, water, housing, transportation, job. It's important that each person can support themselves and they're not living off of somebody else or, living for free and not working or this type of thing. It's important that each person has their own way of supporting themselves. And you don't have to try to become a millionaire. I mean, it's not important to do that unless that's one of your goals or something like that. But everybody should learn to be happy with what they can create and develop through their own efforts, whatever level that is for the self-support or self-sustaining. This is a component of self-realization.
I think that comes back to what if you're in a family situation, a husband, wife raising children, you're not saying you always have to be out working because your work could be raising children during that time.
Sure.
And working in a partnership.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that needs to be.
One stays home, raise the kids, and the other one does the work, or whatever. It's going to be so varied, right?
Right.
Sometimes both parents work, right? I mean, it's
right.
because they need the money or whatnot.
But to have that ability to take care of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. So that you have that confidence that you can take care of yourself.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It builds something, right? If you know that you could support yourself, that gives you some confidence. Like we talked about before, it gives you some of that self. It's a component of it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
Thanks. That was a good point. So relationships with others, the social interactions, we're all connected to everybody else in the world. Families, friends, social media, like we talked about. But everyone should remain free in their thoughts and their feelings and not become subservient or subordinate to others because they think higher or they think better. No, everybody should remain independent in their thinking and their feelings and not sort of copy somebody else or this type of thing, or become subservient to them, that type of thing. So this is an aspect of growth and self-awareness. Each person should recognize their own shortcomings, wrong thoughts, wishes, and desires, and work to correct them. So the things that as we're looking at ourselves, as we're processing and going through self-realization, when we see something that we're not happy with, then we should slowly take steps to change that. That's part of that. That's part of the whole thing of learning and growing.
Yeah. So you're talking about looking at yourself and being able to recognize those strengths and weaknesses. But then you're also talking about how other people perceive you, and because you don't always see all your strengths and weaknesses accurately. If you're just thinking about yourself, it's when you're interacting with someone else that those come up more, it seems.
Yes. So that's actually, Billy talks about this in one of his books. I don't remember which one, but he talks about each person in society that we interact with are like a mirror, and that they each stand at a different angle to us. So when we see or talk with somebody and we either make them mad or make them happy, it's an opportunity for us to see ourselves through their reaction. So he says, Billy talks about each person is a mirror standing at a different angle, so we can see a different aspect of ourselves through the reaction of the other person. So we need other people to be able to see things about ourselves. And it's so common in life. If you're in interaction with somebody and you say something, maybe you offend them or something, and then they react, the first reaction is people immediately react again, right? It sort of escalates.
It's defensive.
Yeah, or escalated up and things like that. Instead of saying, oh, I didn't realize that. What did I say or do to make him react that way? That's how it should go, is we should say, because it's a reflection of ourselves. Whether we think it's true or not, this person has perceived this about ourselves, and maybe it's something we don't see. So then this person gives us, if we're really learning and we're honest with ourselves, we can say, oh, that's something I need to change about myself. I didn't realize that.
Big opportunity to learn, to see something that you can't see on your own.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not easy because we usually avoid that, right? We're just like, oh, that's uncomfortable. I'm going to avoid that. I don't know.
Or he's
or
a
avoid
jerk.
that person.
Yeah.
Rather than, lean into that experience and learn from it. I think that's really difficult for anyone.
Yes. And it's a component of self-realization. So, but it's up to each individual person if they want to make those steps or not. So, but this is how it should be done.
Okay.
So the second step is to understand and accept all of these individual traits and to know all these things in details about ourselves. So the second step is to, once we know that we're each individuals, the second step is to accept and learn, within ourselves, that those are within ourselves, and get to know them, get to know the positives and negatives about ourselves.
Okay.
That's the second step. So the third step is to change. So after we've identified it and we accept it, we have this, the third step is to change or improve our current state. And this is done through self-analysis and honestly and intensively looking inward and see all of our reactions, all of the things that we do or that we say, the morality that we put out, virtues, all these different things about ourselves is open to us to change. Once we see it, now we take steps forward to try to make those change. And it's important to study all aspects, both the positives and the negatives, because these things reveal to us, if we're honest with ourselves, they reveal to us our character and our morality and our virtues that we have within us. Not somebody else, but we see that about ourselves. So in this process, Billy talks about it's important to create a mental picture of the different sides of oneself. So the good and the positive aspects that we see, that we're good at and we can do, can be further refined, into something higher, even more positive and better. And then the bad and the negative things, the aspects that we see about ourselves, can be improved. So each of these mental pictures needs to be clearly and unambiguously defined so that it's anchored in the consciousness. So it's almost like we create a new conscious form. This mental picture of, for example, we say something to somebody and they don't like it. Then we can make a note that, I said this to this person, but he doesn't quite understand it, or he got mad. Why did he get mad? So the situation, if you create a mental picture saying, I shouldn't have said this, or I shouldn't have done this, and we create that in our mind to make this mental picture, it gives us material to work with in the future. This is versus when you do something or say something wrong, you just, oh, I'm not worried about it, and just let it go to the side and don't deal with it again. That's how most people go through life. If they make a mistake of something, they try to cover it up, or they don't want to deal with it because it's negative, negative. But by approaching it differently, this provides opportunity for growth.
And you call that a mental picture?
Yeah, Billy called it a mental picture. Yeah, a mental picture. By anchoring the mental picture in the consciousness.
The mental picture of that aspect of yourself or that memory of that event?
Yes, of what happened and what you shouldn't have done, or what you think you did wrong and what you shouldn't do, or how you would change it in the future. This is what he's talking about, to create this mental picture. Because once the mental picture is created, it gives you an opportunity throughout life, because you remember next time you come to the same situation, then you'll think, oh, I said this wrong before, so now I won't do it this better. Maybe you still make a mistake, but then you create a new mental picture that it's now, okay, now I won't do this and I won't do this type of thing.
Okay.
And by creating the mental picture, it also brings the thoughts to bear. Because once the mental picture is there, the power of the thoughts will begin to work and really give an opportunity for things to change. So just by forming that mental picture, the thoughts will follow that and provide an opportunity to change in your life. That's one of the most important things.
So without that mental picture, you're losing that opportunity to have the power of thoughts work in your favor.
Sure.
Is that...
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole range of possibilities, but if you take the far range, like you make a mistake and you just discard it.
Right, you just ignore it.
You just ignore it, yeah. Of course, then nothing's going to change, right? I mean, for that aspect of yourself, the negative part, it's not going to change. But by forming the mental picture and giving yourself something to work with, this will give you a sort of a step up, a sort of an advantage to resolving some negative thing within yourself, because it'll bring your thoughts to bear. It'll remind you when you have the same situation. You'll say, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that." This type of thing. It's just a tool. It's a tool for growth and for learning.
For remembering those aspects of yourself and to doing something different the next time.
Yeah.
I mean, we're creatures of habit. We just say the same thing again. Yeah.
And not worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, this can become a mental exercise. This is what could, through practice, and will eventually lead to the results of changing. So this is the third step. This is the internal work of honest self-analysis, creating a mental picture and then working towards changing it. And then finally, the path to self-realization couldn't be complete without meditation. And we do have a meditation video on the site. It's called Introduction to Meditation. So that could be helpful if some people are interested. Meditation is a critical part of self-realization. And when practiced correctly and regularly, it's a true catalyst for self-realization. It'll really help move things along. So that will conclude it. Now it's your turn. If you could join us at the Future of Mankind Forum, and there's a section, a topic called Billy Meier Books YouTube channel. Post your understanding. And if you have any questions, post them there, and I'll answer them within 24 to 48 hours. So we'd like to hear from you. This is a discussion format, so I've sort of given some information. Now it's your turn. Join us on the forums and leave your understanding or leave your questions on what is self-realization. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Billy Meier Books YouTube channel, and we'll see you in the next video.